Good day to all. Welcome to Extreme Recap. The movie opens in a factory where hundreds of workers are demanding better pay and less discrimination from management. In order to negotiate with the department, the head of the factory uses a speaker and calls in some workers' union representatives. After the descent stops, two agents enter the division building. In the meantime, in the following scene, a young boy named Sancho is waiting for his father Rudra on the roof of a nearby building while he watches everything. Sancho inquires about Roosevelt's motivations for wanting to take part in the riots. Roosevelt turns out to be one of the protesters' driving forces. Roosevelt answers that one ought to constantly help those out of luck and battle against unfairness. He continues by stating that those who do not assist others lack humanity. The specialists who went to bargain with the division do not return after 3 days. Sancho wakes up one morning to the conversation going on between his parents. Who is talking about the missing employees? Della tries her best to stop her husband from going to the factory, despite the fact that Sancho has a mother. Rudra, aided by other workers, arrives at the factory shortly thereafter and attacks the security personnel. Sancho Kai, on the other hand, and his mother make the decision to look into the circumstances surrounding the worker's disappearance, and they discover the truth to their surprise. His wife is attempting to conceal his presence when they discover him inside one of the representatives' residences. Della starts running toward the processing plant knowing that the plan is to kill her, but she falls and breaks her leg, leaving her unable to walk. She tells Sancho to go to the production line and stop his father while Rudra is fighting the security forces. His co-worker approached him and stabbed him multiple times, tragically resulting in his death immediately. Exactly when Sancho shows up at the plant, he finds his father lying dead on the floor. The young fellow isolates in tears and laments his father's passing. He gets up and plans to exact his vengeance after some time has passed. He holds a security safeguard and shouts boisterously, however when he does, a splendid lightning bolt strikes him all of a sudden and discards him, breaking the safeguard with a great deal of power. Surprisingly, any safeguards that are still in place are also broken in the same way. Everyone is shocked to see this, and when they try to look at Sancho Ca's unconscious body, the lightning force also pushes them away. Then, Sancho's mother informs him that she must travel to the city several years in advance to purchase some groceries. The young man would prefer not to be left alone, but he must choose to agree. Even though a few days have passed, his mother has not actually returned. Worse still, Sancho is compelled to leave the house in search of food because everything that could be eaten inside has vanished. He is being pursued by some street boys in the following scene, and when they catch up to him, they begin severely beating him. In any case, similarly as they are going to hit him with an enormous piece of wood, one more man by the name of Agam shows up and battles the road young men to save Sancho. The Og gang is sitting next to Sancho when he wakes up in the room where he was sleeping. The latter promises to teach him basic self-defense skills and warns him against dealing with street children. In order to begin a new life together, the two make the decision to board a train at night to a different city. August's quickness and agility make it easy for him to board the moving train. However, Sancho is left behind. By and by, with no one to manage him, Sancho starts living in the streets by performing unobtrusive endeavors in the city. In the accompanying scene we see a grown-ups on Chaka running on the streets. He has now started working at a paper fabricating plant as a security official, obeying Ogun's thoughts. Despite this, he continues with his normal life and ignores people fighting in the city. Because he is afraid of lightning, he continues to hide at a specific location whenever it strikes. The scene then moves to a party where two individuals are discussing a penkor. Apparently this individual had a ton of challenges growing up. They talked about how he managed to hide in a cupboard and how a fire killed the Penkor family. The scene then rewinds to when Penkor's uncle takes them to a lower-class orphanage, where the children are abused, scared, and fed up. Penkor joins the orphans and eliminates all of their obnoxious owners. He manages the orphans with the inheritance he receives later from his father. Presently, Penkor is a criminal chief who has command over a great deal of the halfway house. Indonesia's bad government is also in charge of a lot of wanderers who have been trained to be executioners. He devises a plan to introduce a substance that is harmful to unborn children into the rice supply. Then, a lot of people want the legal release of an unknown pharmaceutical company's unproven antidote. The disagreement creates two groups within the parliament. One that is led by Penkor and his friends, who are against it, and the other that is led by Ridwan Bari and Durga, who write a bill to distribute it during the party. Durga declines Penkor's offer to shake her hand when he comes up to her. In the accompanying scene, Durga's get back causes Penkor men to catch him and his family and fiercely kill them, enraging Penkor. When Sancho hears some noises coming from his neighbor's room, he discovers a couple of con artists threatening a poor woolen woman with extortion. Wanted expresses her gratitude to Sancho for saving her and her brother Teddy at night while he was working as a factory security officer. However, Sancho is unable to hold back his anger and confronts the criminals. He easily defeats them with his superior fighting skills. They toss him from the highest point of a structure while it is intensely coming down. It is dead to expect he. Shockingly, a blaze of lightning misses through Sancho's body and wakes him. He was then brutally beaten and attacked by a larger group of criminals. Heals all of his wounds and gives him life. The day after that. At the point when San Shako visits the market, he sees Wu Lan and the market proprietors examining ways of getting away from the hooligans. Be that as it may, similar hooligans who attacked Chaka before show up at the scene and start seeking after Wu Lan. However, Sancho triumphs over them with ease this time around thanks to his lightning-like strength. Wu Lan is impressed by this, so he asks him to join them in the fight, but he says no and goes to work instead. Unfortunately, the band of hoodlums put a match to the whole market and obliterated everything. Owing to this, Sancho decides to fight for the people because he remembers his deceased father. He then wears a veil and starts battling the detestable gatherings in the city. Despite this, an unidentified individual stabs him during one of his fights and takes a small amount of his blood. A stressed Wolan then, at that point, approaches Sancho and lets him know that in the event that a human can't help other people who are out of luck, then, at that point, they are on par with dead. Sancho doesn't worry because he knows that his injuries will heal like lightning. In the meantime, the news reports that the majority of pregnant women have contracted a fatal illness as a result of eating recently circulated food items. Additionally, it mentions that the infected women's children will be the primary cause of the nation's rising crime rate and will be evil. And this is being executed by Penkor and his men to get more advantage by offering counteractants to the disorder in the accompanying scene. Sancho sorts out some way to control his lightning powers and prepares an excellent suit for himself. He then, at that point, fights against the group bundles around the city and holds guildless families back from being gotten unruly and compromised. Sancho troop is nothing not precisely that of a superhero's outfit. He then, at that point, begins going after the convicts. Including musician Audi Suleiman, a member of the Pen Court's large group of fugitive professionals and the person who was responsible for putting fire in the market in the past. A friend and Aziz, a Penkor bodyguard, dig a hole and discover a box hidden there. Legislator Ridwan claims that Penkor is in charge of distributing poisoned rice throughout the city during meetings with other government officials. They decide to work together to take on Penkor and approach Chaka, the superhero's son, for assistance after hearing his name mentioned in the news. Additionally, Ridwan orders the officials to distribute poison-resistant medications. Conversely, when Penkor sees Adi Suleiman's body, he becomes rankled on the grounds that he was a vagrant who was being really focused on by his association. Penkor demands that the orphans be brought back together and fight the new superhero for Suleiman's harm. The father calls the orphans shortly after, and they begin causing havoc throughout the city. To get started, they kill the officials. When one of the professional killers is going to kill free one, who wouldn't want to contradict the Penkor plan? Sancho approaches Sancha and asks him to help save the people after defeating Ridwan in his suit. In the scene that followed, the government officials were able to agree that the people should not be given an antidote that had not been tested before. All the while, Ridwan gets a call enlightening him that the assembling plant going to convey the fix has a spot with. Indeed, Penkor hearing this, that is what Ridwan reasons expecting Penkor isn't stopped. No one would have the choice to keep the phony stories from being coursed to people. Because Sancho is the only one who can stop the antidote-carrying vehicles, Ridwan calls him and talks to him over the phone about the situation. Surprisingly, Penkor and his orphan assassin army show up at Sancho's house as soon as he hangs up the phone and tell them to attack him despite the fact that he is weak. Sancho retaliates and uses his powers to defeat them one at a time. When Penkor is about to attack Chucker from behind, Ridwan shows up and kills him, saving Street. Nick. Sancho sets out on a bike to stop the circulation guard with the help of a baffling woman. Shri Asi Sanchaka can find a conveyance troop and gets an example of the phony antidote. Somewhere else, individuals are going to get the phony antitoxins, which could make them wiped out or try and kill them. Sancho puts an end to the distribution convoy when he realizes the risk. He then uses his superpower to destroy each bottle of antidote because they all exist at the same frequency, just as he did with the shields at the beginning of the movie. Owing to this, everyone is spared the lethal antidote and the danger is finally avoided in the final scene. A Pen Corps member named Gazoo breaks down a wall to reveal an ancient tomb. He then takes the mystery box from Pryor and sprinkles it with a couple of drops of San Shakespeare's blood, which was furtively taken previously. Following that, he joins the body to the head-turning Ki Willow Wook, a risky hero in his middle age who calls him Gondola to inform him about Sancho's fall. Ki Willow Wook gives Gazoo instructions to lead an assassination army to fight Sanchaka at the end of the movie. Turn on notifications, please subscribe for more videos like this, and like the channel to support it. Thank you very much for watching.